Are we really sure the Four Nations Faceoff is a good idea? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Pucked Up Podcast. I'm Chris, as my usual merry band of misfits, D in danger, and for the third week in a row, we've got a one Goss Maul.
Hell yeah.
Dude, Maul is spreading himself kind of everywhere. He's on my streams, he's apparently just on Pucked Up every week now.
That was an image I didn't necessarily need.
I know, I had definite images pop into mind.
Like almost a visceral reaction there. I apologize, Mal. No offense.
I imagined him like on a subway. No, I was just imagining him like man spreading in like a subway car. You know what I mean? Just like taking up the whole area.
My brain went to spreading seed.
Oh.
I don't know why.
Danger.
I apologize to both you.
This is a family show.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
We talk about pegging and pulling out all the time.
Hey, I've never said that.
No, we don't have TikToks of that or anything. Oh.
Nope.
I've never said that.
Yes, you have.
Pulling out, yeah.
We have proof of you saying, and speaking of pegging.
I don't think I have said that.
We have proof of it.
I don't remember saying that.
It's in the Google Drive. Go look at it.
I'll look it up.
But nevertheless,
or were we talking about it in one of Dave's streams? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. No, nevertheless, we are a couple. Actually, I think we're 2 days away from the Four Nations Face-Off starting.
Oh.
Yes, they have.
I think it's a day or two away. Like it'll be starting this week. By the time the podcast airs, it'll have started. That is something we are for sure going to be talking about a little later in the show. But let's start it off the way we always started off. There's a bunch of shit that went down to the PWHL this week.
Yeah, absolutely. So this week we actually don't have a 3-stars of the week because they haven't had a game since February 2nd. They do have a game going on right now as of time of recording. Well, in 7 minutes as of time of recording. So there are no stars. They are starless. However, they did actually see the return of several stars coming back from long-term injured reserve, starting with none other than, geez, Louise, Natalie Spooner, who will make her season debut against Minnesota. She's been activated from long-term injured reserve, and she'll be returning to action against the Minnesota Frost at Coca-Cola Coliseum. She said, "I'm excited to be back with my teammates and looking forward to competing against them. It was obviously a long road to get to this point. It doesn't happen without a lot of amazing people in my corner. I'm very grateful for my surgical and medical team that have got me back to full health. Thank you to the fans and hockey community for all the well wishes and patience along the way." She was put on long-term injured reserve on May 15th of 2024 after a knee injury during the third period of Game 3 in Toronto's semifinal playoff series against Minnesota. In the PWHL inaugural season, the 34-year-old from Scarborough, Ontario, led players in goals at 20, points in 27, and was selected first-team All-Star, Forward of the Year, and Billie Jean King MVP Award recipient. So, very excited to get Spooner back. We also saw Dominique Petrie returning as well to Minnesota now. So they both got healthy players called up. She's a rookie forward. She's been activated following an upper body injury sustained on December 19th against Ottawa at the Hermosa Beach, California native. Has appeared in just 4 games this season and tallied 3 goals in those 4 games. Pretty impressive. In a corresponding roster move, the Frost have released forward Caitlin O'Donoghue from her standard player agreement and returned her to her team's reserve player list. Also, we saw that, unfortunately, adding to long-term injured reserve is Sarah Nurse, who was injured recently. She suffered a lower body injury during Game 4 of the Rivalry Series on Thursday while playing for Canada's national women's team and will be out of the Scepters lineup indefinitely. Through 15 regular season games, the 30-year-old from Hamilton, Ontario, contributed 5 goals and 7 assists for 12 points. And with that, the Toronto Scepters have also therefore signed Laura Kluge, She is signed to a standard player agreement. She's a 28-year-old from Berlin, Germany. She was part of Toronto's 2024-2025 training camp and appeared in 2 mini camp games. In her first appearance against Minnesota, the teams played a 33 overtime following regulation, and Cluj scored the overtime game-winning goal. So very excited for Laura to join the team there. And lastly, our last bit of news for the PWHL is actually a bit of a bad girl announcement. So bad girl Marie-Philippe Poulin has been fined $250. And this is an automatic review by the Player Safety Committee. And this was for a major penalty for charging assessed to Poulin at 13:48 of the second period during Sunday's game against the New York Sirens. During the game, the play was reviewed in the on-ice officials in consultation with the PWHL Central Situation Room, and it was determined there would be no game misconduct imposed since the infraction did not result in an injury to the face or head of her opponent, per Rule 42 charging. This was the first major penalty and the first fine that Poulin has received in her career thus far. So it's funny to talk about PWHL fines because they get paid so very little that their fines are literally $250. And that's still a major fine in comparison to their contract, right?
Right.
And so one thing I would like to see, and I think everyone on this podcast would like to see, and if not, I'm putting words in your mouth and I don't care, is that the girl should get paid more so that these fines are more consequential. Because when people read that Marie-Philippe Poulin has been charged $250 for charging, they're like, wow, like
Whatever.
that's
Way to dig
nothing.
deep.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
It's not that big of a deal. But the thing is that it is a big deal. It was a very, it was an aggressive charge. You would think that she was trying to murder somebody.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, I definitely would recommend looking at it. It's cut and dry. It's cut and dry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I have a question. What is an average salary for a player on the PWHL?
Ooh, good question.
is a very
Let me
good
see if I can pull it.
Just because I
It's
genuinely
very low.
don't know, and just more like I haven't looked it up, and I'm just curious.
Yeah. So the minimum salary is $36,050. Their highest paid person, I don't know who their highest paid is, but they're not making more than $80,000. So the team average between $45,000 and $60,000.
So to put that into perspective, you show up to work tomorrow and you get fined $250 for being late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you afford that? That's a lot. You know what I mean? I couldn't.
Yeah.
No, that's a big chunk of change. So yeah, I can agree. I definitely think once the league has a spot where they can definitely raise the prices or raise these contracts for these ladies, 100% they need to.
Yes.
And I don't think it's going to be long before they start making enough to where they don't have to worry about other jobs or this and that. They can live off of that.
Dude, I can't wait for the day
blown
that
up.
we get to announce the first $1 million contract in the PWHL.
Oh my
Right.
god.
Like,
that's
I'm
gonna
so
be
stoked for that day, and it's not as far off as we think it is. There's been such a surge for women's sports, and with the Super Bowl happening this past weekend, Nike aired their first ad in 27 years, and it was all about women's sports, and it was fucking dope as shit. If you haven't seen the Nike Super Bowl ad, I suggest you go look it up. And it's all about how, as women, people will tell you that you can't do this, you can't do that, you're too loud, you're too boastful. If you are talking about how good you are, that's a bad thing. If you don't talk about how good you are, you don't think well enough of yourself. And they're the tagline is, you can't win, so just win. And it's such a genius marketing strategy from Nike.
That's cool.
It's sick. And I know that with this, with just women's sports continuing to press on all counts, whether that's the NBA, the PWHL, the WNBA. I think we're going to see women hitting those $1 million contracts pretty soon, and I'm so freaking stoked. And when that happens, we're going to start seeing fines of $1,000 for bad behavior and things like that. And I'm also stoked for that as well, because I do think it adds a sense of severity that is missing when you don't have the context, right? If you think about sports, if I were to assess Connor McDavid a $250 fine, he's my shits cost more than that. You know what I mean?
Right? I spent
Right.
that much on toilet paper this week.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that is our one bad girl this week.
Wow, that's actually crazy.
Yeah.
Well, switching gears to the
hmm
boys' side, we have a very new name at the top of the Stars of the Week this week.
We do. We do, and we'll get to him in due time. As always, we're going to start off with the third star of the week, which this week is Matthew Tkachuk, a left winger for the Florida Panthers. Tkachuk, another participant in the Four Nations Faceoff, scored in all 3 of his outings, totaling 4 goals and 3 assists to extend his goal streak to 6 games, as the defending Stanley Cup champion Panthers maintained a 3-point cushion atop the Atlantic Division. He found the back of the net once in a 6-3 loss to the Washington Capitals. Tkachuk then posted 2 goals and 1 assist, including the tie-breaking goal with 11.8 seconds remaining in regulation and a 3-2 victory in his hometown against the St. Louis Blues before adding 1 goal and 2 assists, his 7th 3-point performance of the season, and a 5-1 win over the Ottawa Senators. The 27-year-old Tkachuk sits second in Florida in goals with 22, assists with 35, points with 57 through 52 total games so far. Second star is a name we are all very familiar with. Thatcher Demko, the goalie for the Vancouver Canucks. Demko stopped 64 of 65 shots he faced across 3 total games, going 2-0-0 with a .46 goals against average, a .985 save percentage, and 1 shutout as the Canucks moved into the final playoff spot in the Western Conference via a perfect week. He earned his 9th career shutout and first of the 2024-2025 season, with 25 saves and a 3-0 victory against the Colorado Avalanche. Demko then turned aside 33 shots, including a combined 17 in the third period and overtime, and a 2-1 triumph versus the San Jose Sharks. The 29-year-old Demko, who denied all 6 shots he saw before exiting Vancouver's 2-1 win over the Toronto Maple Leafs, owns a 6-6-3 record, 2.87 goals against average, and a .891 save percentage through 17 total games this season. And this is the name that we have not yet heard. Very excited to announce the first star this week is Brendan Hagel, a left winger for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Hagel will represent Canada at this week's Four Nations Faceoff, and he led the NHL with 4 goals and 4 assists, all at even strength, in 4 games to help the Lightning get into 3rd place in the Atlantic Division via 4 straight wins over division opponents. He helped Tampa Bay sweep back-to-back games versus the Ottawa Senators, one of the teams ahead of them in the Atlantic entering the week, potting the tie-breaking goal early in the 3rd period of a 4-3 victory, and scoring the game winner in a 5-1 win the following 2 nights after. Hagel then registered his 3rd career 4-point performance, all of which have come this season, and with 2 goals, 2 assists, and a 6-3 win against the Detroit Red Wings. He closed the week with a pair of assists, his 16th multi-point outing of the campaign, and a 5-3 triumph over the Montreal Canadiens at Bell Center, the site of the first 4 games of the Four Nations Faceoff, including the tournament opener this Wednesday. The 26-year-old Hagel ranks 2nd on the Lightning and 16th in the entire league, with 26 goals, 36 assists through 55 total games this season. He also places amongst the 2024-25 league leaders in shorthanded assists, tied for first with 4, shorthanded points, tied for first with 6, even strength goals, 3rd with 24, even strength points, 5th with 49, goals tied for 9th with 26, and plus minus tied for 10th with plus 24. That's it.
Wow. I'll tell you, it's nice to
Crazy.
see. It's nice to see newer names on the list,
100%.
especially for someone like Brandon Hagel, who's been quietly consistent for a good amount of time, and seeing that he's getting the love to represent Team Canada, I'm definitely here for. I know you posted something the other day from The Athletic that I think Danger has more on.
Yeah.
Yes. So they did the player poll. So it was 111 players that were completely anonymous and asked a series of questions. And the results were surprising, not surprising, and very entertaining. So the first question was, if you have a no trade list, what's the first team on it? There were 82 responses there. The number 1 team, which is apparently always the number 1 team, the Winnipeg Jets, with 48.78% of those 82 responses saying they will not go play there.
Too cold?
that's part of it. It says the Jets win this category, running away every time. There's not much to do out there, one player said. It's fucking cold. I haven't heard a guy go to Winnipeg and be like, this is going to be my forever home.
That's
Somebody
funny.
else said, nothing to do, bad food, freezing. A few players offered a blanket rejection for the 7 Canadian teams, given the weather, the taxes, and the scrutiny. The next one was Buffalo with 19.51% of the responses being them. Somebody said the way it's going there, Buffalo, it's just been kind of mucky there forever. And for me right now in my career, I don't really need that. It's not going to help me. Which is fair. Somebody else said high taxes. The organization hasn't been that strong recently. They haven't made the playoffs in like 14 years. And saying that, I have some friends there that love playing there. Somebody else said all they do is lose. One player just really, really, really disliked Philadelphia to the point to where you have to wonder if Gritty picked on him as a child. The quote is, honestly, I wouldn't even mind Winnipeg, he said. It's not that nice, but I just hate Philly. I just hate Philly. I can't stand it. I can't stand the city, everything. It's the rink. It's just one city that I absolutely despise. I can't stand it. I'd be sick if I got traded there. If I had a one team no trade list, they'd be on it in a second. Which, yeah, I agree with
Pretty
that
serious.
assumption of what did Gritty do to you, bro? Like, that
being said, I've been to
it ends
Philly.
with not everybody is so picky. One player just said, I feel lucky to play anywhere, which is very wholesome. I like that. The next question was, what coach would you like to play for other than your own? 108 responses. Topping out the list was John Cooper with 23.58%. One player said, I like his persona. One player who couldn't choose between Cooper and the Colorado Avalanche's Jared Bednar said their teams just play such nice hockey. They play fast. If I were to turn on the TV, I would probably look at those two teams because they play beautiful hockey, which don't talk nice about Colorado. Anyway, I do agree with that statement, though. They do play beautiful hockey. Those who played for Rod Brindamore with Carolina Hurricanes inevitably become evangelic. No, that's not how you say that word. Anyway, they sing his praises. I've heard he rewards players that are committed and work hard. Someone said, I think that would fit my traits and we could build a good relationship. He's someone you want to play for. He's also had good success in Carolina, like good runs, and just come up short. Every year they've been there as one of the final teams. Somebody else said, it seems like he's a very straightforward coach. No matter what kind of team they have or how it looks on paper, they're always a fast, hard to play team. Paul Maurice was another one that had won over plenty of players. Somebody said, I've seen his press conferences, how he talks to the media. He's confident. Another player noted those interviews during the playoffs. I mean, yeah, hard not to like him. The Flyers coach, John Tortorella, Tortuga, whatever his fucking name is, tops the next list. But he also garnered a few votes on this list, too, including one surprising one, the same player who really, really, really dislikes Philadelphia. He's in Philly, but I would just like to experience how it feels to be under Torts. There'd probably be some funny stuff going on the bench. I'd just love to hear it sometime. The curiosity factor was high with Torts. You hear stories, I'd like to see it for myself, somebody said. Another player said, I've heard he's got his team's back and he'll take care of his players, which I have heard as well. So the next question is, which coach would you least like to play for? With 93 responses, and Torts tops that list out with 38.46%. Torts topping the list is no surprise. A few players came to his defense and noted that many players really like playing for him. Number 2 on the list was Bruce Cassidy from Las Vegas, which was an interesting and somewhat surprising development, given the success that Vegas has had. One player just said, "That's what I'm hearing from around the league, that people don't really want to play for him." Another player noted, "I haven't heard many good things about the Vegas coach Cassidy. I don't really know him that well, but I haven't heard anything good about him."
Hmm.
Another player, and this is just too funny, didn't even know the Anaheim Ducks coach Greg Cronin's name, but picked him anyway. And the quote just was, "Who's Anaheim's coach?"
That's funny.
I've heard from other
Yeah.
players that he's not so great to play for. Somebody else said about Cronin. They have a lot of decent skill, that they should be a good team, but they're not. Which I think is a fair assessment there. So, again,
God
you've been
fucking
looking
Not
at
wrong.
coaching staff. Right. When you have that much talent, but your team isn't doing much with it, you question.
Yeah.
Mike Babcock is also on the list. It's a long shot to ever return to the league after his immediate flame out with the Columbus Blue Jackets. And that seems to be fine with a lot of the players polled. One player just saying, "Been there, lived it." It's fair. Lindy Ruff got a
True.
handful of votes. Player noted, "I just think he's too old. I don't think he understands the game anymore." That's what I hear from the guys that do play for him, that he just doesn't know what's going on most of the time. Just
Poor Lindy.
interesting.
Might be a fair assessment, though.
Yeah. Brindamore got a vote here too, sort of. The player noting, "Just because he's way more in shape than I am, he'd be intimidating."
I mean, fair.
The next question being, what NHL team has the best facilities for opposing teams? And 110 players of the 111 responded to this question, which I think is awesome. First player, Utah was freaking nice. Like when they had a full-on gym for us, ice cold tubs, hot tubs that were like $10,000 each. We shared it with the basketball guys. Our visitors' room is huge. Medical room is bigger than our medical room here. Detroit Red Wings, Little Caesars Arena. Seattle Kraken's Climate Pledge Arena. Edmonton Oilers, Rogers Place. Golden Knights, T-Mobile Arena. And New York Islanders, UBS Arena. All open in the past decade, and it shows. Players saying all of the newer buildings are great. Really, any of the new rinks. I don't know which arena came first. Somebody said UBS or Climate Pledge, but they're modeled very similarly. They have a lot more room and it feels cleaner. Players also noted that they liked how Detroit offered players access to the NBA facilities. Just because of the gym, a Detroit voter said it's pretty nice. I don't know if the room's the best, but the gym's the best for sure. Another player noted, not a lot of away spots have decent gym setups, but the newer rinks have setups that are acceptable, for the lack of a better word. Another said, some are just stuck in a hallway on the concrete and it's not even a room. It's tougher to warm up in facilities like that. Detroit's gym comes to mind as a really good setup. You've got everything you need there and it's well laid out. And the oldest rink on the list, but one I take a lot of pride in, is the Minnesota's Xcel Energy Center. They said has by far the biggest visitors locker room in the league. And one player just said that locker room is unreal. And I've toured it. It is beautiful. The players' locker room is beautiful. But yeah, the visiting team, like it was very impressive when I toured it. I was like, damn, all right, we take care of our teams. And then the next question was, what NHL team has the worst facilities? With 105 responses. It just sums it up with, you might want to play for Brindamore, but you don't want to play against him. And it's not just because of the team forechecks so hard. Carolina ran away with this one, as players are forced to warm up and lift weights or ride the bike after the game in a hallway or giant storage area. The locker room itself, despite a recent renovation that added about 2 whopping feet of width, might be the most cramped in the league as well. One player said, it used to be Carolina, but then they upgraded, and somehow it's still Carolina. The visiting room sucks. Somebody else said the homeroom is basically the visiting room with some paint on the walls. So yeah, pretty shitty. Another Carolina voter just said it's terrible. Carolina stinks. Somebody else said it's brutal.
Yeah.
It sucks. Everything about that trip sucks. Not even close, somebody else said. And then my favorite quote here was probably ours. One particularly sneaky Hurricanes player said, "This summer they're supposed to change it up a little bit. We've been telling them to put it off." So at least the players are having a little fun rather than the other guys. On Washington, somebody said by far the worst. It's the smallest room ever and 1,000,000 degrees in there. I hate playing there. On Anaheim is so bad. The dressing room is fine, but the other amenities like the cold tub where you warm up, it's an old office. You don't know where you're going. It's the worst in the league. Calgary, they were said to, I hate saying that because I love playing in that building, but the setup there is not cool. Colorado sucks.
I will say, Washington, one person said it was bad. They got 1.9% of the vote compared to Carolina's 65.7.
Yeah.
I think there's a clear winner here.
Oh yeah, by far.
Yeah.
But that's a fair, like, if it's that small, I get why, there's a complaint
Yeah,
there.
it makes sense that it's on the list.
Not every arena is going to have huge space for that, especially the older arenas. Toronto was said to be awful. A player said there's not even a curtain. There's just some stuff in the corner of the lower level or whatever. You're just on this gross, dirty concrete. And that's more common than you'd think.
Yeah.
Gotta love Canadian hospitality.
Right?
We're nice on the surface.
Right. Yeah. Players were then asked, do you like the idea of an in-season tournament like the NBA? 54.55% said no. Players were pretty split on this one, which, I mean, it was pretty close, too. The NBA Cup had made for some memorable games, but some NHL players think it's gimmicky and corny, which were quotes given. One player said, I haven't looked at it if it drives revenue, but if it does, I wouldn't be against it. I don't see any harm in it. Somebody else said, I think it's good. Extra revenue gets fans more involved in the game, more rivalries. It'd be good to grow the game. Lots of higher stake games in the middle of the season. Could also break up the relentless monotony of the NHL season. I think it'd mix it up. A player said a chance to win some money, fun way to break up the season. Guys would get into it. Anytime you can pick up the competitive level in the middle of the season, it helps, another player said, especially the times where the season gets long in the middle. But some players preferred more international play instead. One player noting it should be something like the Four Nations, but on a global scale. You would still play against the same team, same lineups, so I don't think you would have much of a future in this sport, another player reasoned. I would understand if you play how they do in the soccer league, where you play against the same teams, where they play with teams from lower leagues. Whereas the NHL, you're playing against teams you play against all season. That same player said, I don't think it would be that interesting for us. We just have more games to play. Some players turn their noses up at the idea of competing for a lesser trophy than the Stanley Cup. One person said, we play for the hardest trophy in the world. I think the only tournament that matters should be the playoffs. We play for the Stanley Cup. We don't play for an in-season tournament banner. 108 players responded to the question, is the season too long?
This article poses a question. Do you think the NHL should make a end of season anonymous survey for players for conditions, teams and the league as a whole? Do you think that should be something they do to where they can address locker room issues, transportation issues, that sort of thing?
I would say the problem with the NHL being the one to lead a survey is that, as someone who works in a corporate setting, most employees don't fill out an anonymous survey that goes directly to their employer. Because as much as they say it's anonymous, there is actually no fucking guarantee.
Yeah.
It's not. There's no way.
It's just like really, yeah. So they would know. So the issue you would have is that you would be fearful of some sort of retaliation. If you answer this next question that Danger's about to talk about in the way that some people answered, there 100% would be a fear for retaliation. And so I think because of that, the NHL can never do an anonymous survey of their teams and expect any level of actual transparency.
Right.
That's fair. That's fair.
Of at least not of every player, you know.
No.
But I definitely feel like there are certain questions that they can ask.
Yeah.
Like the one about
They
like
could.
the mid-season tournament. Like ask that after like the Four Nations happened to see what people thought pre and post, especially with it being new. You know, like there are certain questions they can ask, but I do agree with you guys
I
that
think they
the
not
next
only
question you cannot ask that and be
No.
anonymous and not be
No.
fearful of retaliation.
But I think that they not only like questions like what you're saying with the mid-season tournament, they should be asking the fans that as well.
Yeah, the fans
So
and the players
to come up with a survey of what do the fans think. Not that every decision should be catered to the fans, because the fans will never decide
hockey,
one
you
way
know?
or another.
That's a big thing. That's like that's a very big
But I
change
think
to
that
implement.
they should
you know,
take that into account.
Yeah.
But the last question, which
God.
arguably is the most controversial, we'll say,
Risky?
should Gary Bettman retire?
Oh.
And out of 77 responses, 54.55% said yes.
Holy shit, that's a big number.
45.55.
So we're about to see a lot of
No,
vacancies. 45
said
teams?
no.
Okay.
54 said yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Bettman does have a lot of supporters around the league. This does note that the poll was conducted before the league announced the skyrocketed salary cap. So, you know, arguably that's just something to note that could have affected some of the players' responses, or some players being unhappy. Some people, you know, sing his praises and stating things like, he's done a great job with the league. It keeps growing. We've had the least turmoil of most leagues, said another player. And this just says, who must not have been paying attention in 1994, 2004, 2012. Then stated, I'm fine with it. Which is fair. It arguably could be a player that was alive one of those years. You know,
someone that was affected by that lockout.
Right.
Anyway.
Another player said, I feel like he's done a pretty good job with our sport in terms of getting TV deals. Another saying, obviously it was crappy timing with COVID and escrow and whatnot, but I feel like the salary cap is going up. TV deals are going up. I think our sport is in a good spot, so he's done a decent job. Another player said it may be unpopular, so at least he had the wherewithal to recognize that it was the unpopular opinion. But I think he's done a nice job of stabilizing our league, which I think is a fair
That's very
thing.
fair.
He's put the league in a good spot. He is ready. But if he keeps growing the game, we're not playing escrow anymore. Why leave now? Which I don't necessarily agree with that opinion.
Right.
But lots of other players think fresh eyes and fresh ideas could keep the league growing even more. One player said the culture of the league needs to change. The league needs to make hockey more accessible to lots of people. Just stating, and I think this is just a random name, but it's Stephen A. Smith.
No, that's a popular broadcaster. He does a lot of football and basketball coverage.
For ESPN, yeah.
But they're saying Stephen A. Smith doesn't get fired up about hockey, and he should be, which is fair. Knowing that, I didn't recognize
he's a big Rangers fan because he's from New York, but yeah, hockey is not on his radar for sports that he ever just goes off about. And I think that does say something, because
Right.
we had a talk beforehand that like earlier today that like you've got to own like 12 or 13 different subscriptions to be able to watch as many games as you want.
Yeah.
Like, yes, every game is supposedly on ESPN Plus unless you're in market or unless the game's at NHL Network, in which you have to either get your own subscription for or hope your TV provider carries it. Or like the NHL playoffs are on the Turner list, so it's TNT, TBS, Max. It's like I like that there are multiple partners, but you need to make it easier for fans to access everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I stopped watching hockey because of how difficult it was, and it wasn't until recently where Disney purchased ESPN and did the Disney, Hulu, and ESPN bundle.
Yeah, well, Disney's owned ESPN for forever, but they just finally got smart about their streaming package.
But that's what I'm saying is when they finally decided to make that bundle happen, that's when I was finally like, okay, now it's cost effective to watch hockey again.
Yeah, and the Disney Plus deal or the ESPN Plus deal for like that package, even if you just get ESPN Plus, for the price, you don't have to pay a premium for the NHL. You get access to hundreds and hundreds of college sports like games. You get access to every NHL game, access to all of pro lacrosse, college lacrosse, college soccer, Bundesliga soccer. Like it's there's so many for the price that you get. But when you have every region blacking their stuff out, if you, God forbid, you live in market or, you know, like it's on a different channel, like, you know how many Ducks games I have to miss a year just because I don't have the NHL Network?
Yeah.
And I have YouTube TV, and there's probably 10 or 11 games throughout the year that I miss.
Yeah.
So it's like...
It's like I never understood the blackout anyway, because it's like, I don't like the Bruins. They're not my favorite team. But like I can't watch the Leafs play the Bruins because I live in Bruin territory, so it's blacked out.
Yeah, because we live in New England, we have to miss out. I can't watch Ducks games when they play Boston because I live in market.
Right. It's like I don't even like the team that goes here.
But just to finish this out, the other player said, I think it'd be good to have fresh face. Somebody recognized it's such a hard job. You're not ever going to be liked. He had a good run, but it's time to let somebody else step in now. A couple players stated that they expect Bettman to step down after one last collective bargaining agreement so that he can leave the league in a good place. And then there was this player who said, quote, I don't even know what the fucking guy does. Thank God this is anonymous.
That is brilliant.
But a very interesting article, very interesting questions asked. Like I said, there's a lot of humor and lightheartedness there, but some really heartfelt answers that I think, especially the one that hits home is the player who said, I feel like the league doesn't care about our health.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's hard to say if he meant physical health, mental health, or both. But we've talked about, you know, it a lot. And you don't want to have players feeling that way about, you know, the leagues that they're playing for.
Sure.
Yeah, correct.
So
that's...
Shout out to The Athletic, though, for doing this. They put together a great article. A great set of questions, and shout out to the 111 players who were tapped to answer and who did to some extent. So
to the 111 players who had the balls to actually answer those questions, like that's
and
that's
not
a whole other thing.
Answered every question, but you know, I think the two that the most answered were the most liked and least liked facilities. Which is fair. I mean, that's an easy question. You're not going to hurt anybody's feelings that are high enough up to, you know, have
well, and
control over your job. Is fair.
Every player gets to experience every single locker room once a year at least. So, you know, I feel like that's a very much so big one. And yeah, like you said, the schedule, the in-season tournament, like those are all things that are really pressing issues right now.
Yeah.
We will leave this the link to the Athletic article in the description in case you guys want to check it out. I'm a big fan of them on like the racing side because their coverage of NASCAR, IndyCar, and all that's amazing. So yeah, like Dee said, big ups to the Athletic for killing it yet again.
Yeah.
Speaking of players who have played a lot of games, we have a couple that have hit some marks. One of which, bro, why are you still playing? That player is Ryan Suter, who is about to hit his 1500th game. Or he did just recently hit his 1500th game. With the St. Louis Blues. I think is up. His contract, I think, is up at the end of the year. But he has 1 goal, 9 assists in 56 games played this year. The longtime Minnesota Wild and Nashville Predators player is almost at 700 career points. So we'll see if he can hit that mark. He's only 9 points away, so we'll see if he can hit that mark. As well as Trevor Lewis from Los Angeles Kings just hit his 1000th game last Saturday against the Anaheim Ducks, to the unfortunate Kings fans and team alike. They lost in overtime. No, I'm sorry, they lost in a shootout. To my happiness, it was to the Anaheim Ducks. It was a fantastic game. But there we go. My computer decided it didn't want to work for a second. Lewis has 3 goals, 4 assists in 41 games this season at 38 years old. So, let's see. Is he close to any milestones? He's really not. He has, you guys, 239 penalty minutes in his career. So, Trevor, we're going to need you to step that up, fam.
All right. Pick up the pace, bro.
Especially if he wants to be our obscure player of the week ever.
Exactly.
Or not so obscure player of the week.
But all jokes aside, congrats to both of them. That's amazing milestones that not a lot of people can say that they've hit. So whether they're doing something or not, still big respect to them for having such a long career. Switching to more Four Nations face-off storylines, I guess we'll call them. We'll switch to our resident Four Nations guy, Maul, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
We said it here first that once the train started rolling, it wasn't going to stop. And let me tell you, it's still on chugging. Recently, Team USA defenseman Quinn Hughes and Canadian center Sidney Crosby. But good news, Crosby's good to go. Okay. Thankfully, he played a practice yesterday. But Quinn Hughes is out. He is out for a lower body injury, which sucks because, you know, he's a good player, and it would have been cool to see him play with everyone and represent Team USA. But you know, like the train keeps going. We were scared to see Sidney Crosby might potentially have missed a tournament as well, as he was out with a upper body injury and missed the last 2 games with the Penguins before the midseason break. Let's see, he was in practice on Monday, so yesterday, with Team Canada, and was absolutely killing it, and told reporters that he is good to go. He is happy to be there, and he is excited to get going. I'm excited to see Crosby and Marchand skate together and not against each other. I think that'll be pretty cool.
It's been a while.
Yeah. I did read an article earlier from Marchand. He said it's going to be pretty interesting to go to Montreal and not be booed. So it's probably going to be the last time ever. And he said it's going to be interesting when he has to go to Boston and get booed.
He'll still get booed.
Which is fair.
100%.
Yeah,
I think he'll still get booed.
Yeah, but I mean, it kind of helps put it into an interesting perspective that, you know, they're kind of switching sides, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Well, let's see. Canada named the Los Angeles Kings defenseman Drew Doughty.
Doughty.
Yeah, thank you. On Sunday to replace the Vegas Golden Knights' Alex Pietrangelo, who had to stay home due to an injury. Stop. Google said Pietrangelo. Okay.
It's not. We're not
Google
going back
was
to this, Maul.
wrong.
Google is wrong. Admit you were wrong.
Google is never wrong. If it's on Google, it's true.
That's okay.
Not everything on the internet is true, Mo.
Okay.
No, not on the internet, but on Google, yes. Anyway, so thankfully Canada was able to replay it.
So full of shit.
Jesus
I hate it here.
Christ.
I'm a little nervous that Canada decided to pick Drew because he came back on January 30th from a preseason broken ankle.
It's
So
also
he
like
just came.
36.
Yeah, so he just came back, and they're like, "All right, buddy, go play the Four Nation tournament." So, but
Yeah,
you
but
know what?
it might
I mean,
work in his favor.
Yeah,
This
mean,
might be able
getting
to
him back
break the
into
cobwebs
swing of
out.
things.
Yeah,
exactly.
that
Great
was
way to
kind of
warm
my
up
thought.
and stuff.
Or he could end up busting his ankle again. We don't know.
God, I hope not. Let's see. The Philadelphia Flyer defenseman Ramses Rosenstein. Did I get that one right?
Rasmus Ristolainen. Ramses
Okay, I
Ristolainen
don't feel
is
so bad now.
Is this
different.
Rostenstein?
Google is doing me dirty today, okay?
Stop
Well,
fucking
Rasmus
searching it on
Ristolainen.
Google.
With these names.
Stop. You know what? I'm trying here, okay?
You
Um,
are. We appreciate it,
And
Mom.
I'm proud of you.
That's
But
so
you're
funny.
better off just trying to sound it out.
Or just ask one of us.
No. You think I trust you?
This is
Yes.
not Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. You cannot phone a friend. Okay.
So he hasn't played since February 2nd, which you're looking at that and you're like, wow, that's not really that long ago. But he won't take part in the tournament. Doesn't say why, just, doesn't want to play, I
Yeah,
guess.
That's fair.
The Finnish Ice Hockey Association announced that on Sunday. He was replaced by the Ottawa Senator, Nicholas Minpalo.
Yeah.
See? Thank you.
You sounded it out. I'm proud of you.
Google got it right that time.
Oh my god.
For those of you who are interested, the schedule for the Four Nation tournament is starting Wednesday, February 12th with Canada versus Sweden in Montreal at 8 p.m. Thursday is going to be USA versus Finland. Then we're going Saturday the 15th, Finland versus Sweden. Saturday the 15th, we're getting a doubleheader actually, and it's going to be Finland, Sweden, and US versus Canada. Sunday, we're taking a break. Monday, we're getting another doubleheader with Canada v. Finland and Sweden v. USA. And the championships will be held next Thursday, February 20th in Boston.
Ooh.
There we go.
So, kind of makes me want to go because it's so close. And I know that if this tournament continues, it'll never come to Boston again.
No, probably not.
So,
But, like, the ticket prices
He'll
are
be in
insane.
Boston
Just
several
go.
times, I'm sure.
No. So I'll be honest, I looked at prices a couple weeks ago and it was like $180 a ticket.
So
That's
it's
not bad
cheaper to go
for
to a Four
Boston.
Nations game
Cheaper
than it
than
is to
an
go to a Bruins
NHL
game?
yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
That's
honestly,
hilarious.
like a Bruins game, it's almost a mortgage payment.
Yeah.
It's like $200 for a cheap seat. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, no team is worth that. I don't know who the fuck they think they are.
No.
They
But
think
I
they're the
mean,
Boston Bruins.
but
Well,
I'll be
you
honest.
have to win a championship in the last, 10 years to charge that sort of price, and they haven't, so.
No, but it's because it's Boston and Boston cleans house in every other sport.
I was just gonna
that's
say
why.
it's because Boston is Boston. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And the
Other teams
banners are
suck now.
plentiful. So I did check out ticket prices. I was surprised that they're fairly reasonable. Maybe it's worth it. I'm still pissed that a jersey is twice the cost of admission. That's a little too much.
Yeah.
It's more than a regular NHL jersey, which I think is crazy.
Ridiculous.
It's
Because
not.
I'm not gonna lie,
It's
like
nuts.
I thought it would be cool to get one, and then I saw the price and I was like, yeah,
JK.
my
Yeah.
wife will kill me.
Right.
That's not gonna happen.
No.
But the good news is this is the conclusion of the people deciding, or the players deciding that they don't want to play in the Four Nations because they had to
It starts.
decide by today.
Yeah.
At time recording, so they had to decide by the 11th to get all of their final roster changes in. It's been cool checking out social media, seeing all of the updates of the players kind of hanging out together, practicing together because they had their first
Yeah,
practice
it
as
has
teams
been kind
together.
of fun to see all the
So it's kind of cool to to see all these all-stars and semi all-stars getting to play together, and instead of chirping at each other. They're now looking at each other like, yo, what's up, bro? Like, and just the camaraderie of hockey. And it's, it shows the true spirit of the sport. And I really can't wait to see how that transitions to the ice.
Yeah. Agreed.
Heck yeah. Well,
Nice.
I think that's a good segue into our question of the week. With all of these injuries ahead of the Four Nations face-off, should the NHL rethink in-season tournaments? And I know we've had this conversation before, but I'd like to hear everyone's thoughts on this. Danger, let's start with you.
I say it every time, but yeah, I think we should rethink it. While I understand the appeal for it, I think that the risk is too high. I mean, look at how many people are pulling out because of injury.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or at least that's the excuse. Granted, maybe they're like, oh, my pinky toe hurts and I don't want to play, because they know they're not going to get fined for it. But
Right.
or my syphilis is acting up, I better stay off the ice, not put my jock strap on.
Yeah.
But I understand the appeal to it. I'm somebody that likes these games too. They can be very entertaining, but when I look at the health and the I think the guys would benefit more from a week off in general. But
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's where I am at with this as well, Dangers. Thinking about the results of that athletic survey where the guys were like, let's just play 72 games instead. I would rather see us do absolutely nothing or do even more basic bullshit all-star week stuff where like they're
Yeah.
not actually competing. They're just doing silly fun challenges and it's like an
Yeah.
extended media day session.
Right.
Than them do an in-season tournament. Because I do think that hockey players push their body to the limits, and we see so often, especially in the cup run, where they are injuring themselves to a high degree and continuing to play because the game means that much to them, and being a part of it means that much to them. And I think if we can limit that by forcing them to take a break, which they should have. They don't really get a ton of breaks. They get a couple of days for Thanksgiving and a couple of days for Christmas, and that's kind of it. I think the league should give them more time. Oftentimes, these schedules are so back to back to back to back, especially as an East Coast team. We make our West Coast swing, and it's like we're playing, some nights back to back. You get a night off to travel to the next place on the West Coast, and then you're playing again, and it's exhausting. It's grueling. So, like, let it just be a fucking break, man. I know that they talk about, like, wanting to get revenue up and all of that kind of stuff. If they did something that was more, all-star, like, silly fun game stuff, you're still going to get people to show up to that because it's, like, the one thing that that fans want, at least from my anecdotal experience, is they want to feel that connection to their player. They don't just want to see them on the ice. They want to have meet and greets. They want to have autograph sessions. They want to have the fan experience where they're getting to like get to know them, to make Ovi laugh, like to do all these things. So if you're going to do anything, give more fan experience opportunities, and that doesn't always mean games.
Right.
Very true.
Agree.
Maul?
So I kind of agree, but I'm going to kind of disagree at the same time. Like, I think that it's a great idea because it allows players to showcase their skill. But I'm going to tie it back to what Chris said earlier. Like, don't make it the best of the best. Incorporate other people, your second and third line people, let them kind of step up. Make it a voluntary thing where it's like, if you want to do it, you're doing it for the glory of representing the country in the tournament. And even extend it to AHL players. Give them a chance to step up and see how they compete. You know what I mean? Like, because essentially the way it seems like they had it set up was they picked captains and the captains got to pick their teams. And while the teams were stacked and they were pretty solid teams because there's a lot of great talent out there, let's give the superstars a break and let other people get a chance to step into the limelight, because for me, as a former athlete, if I was told that I had to miss my break to play in the tournament, yeah, I would have faked an injury too. Absolutely. But if I was given the opportunity to play with different people, to play with different coaches, to step out of my comfort zone and try something new and chase the glory and bragging rights of getting to have what's going to come with the tournament, absolutely I would have signed up for it, because it would have given me more ice time and a chance to stand out, make a better name for myself, and get media attention.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable. Yeah, that is a good point, but like the only issue with that is it would still kind of cause a lot of the same problems we have with the whole like tournament in itself. Is yeah, you can have your superstars take a break, but at the same time, it would feel almost pointless, because then you're passing that along to AHL teams in the same sense, to where I think, yeah, we should absolutely rethink, like I've been saying the entire time, and I think most of us around the league echo the sentiment. The Four Nations Faceoff is a good idea, but there is no reason that a tournament to where these guys are expected to be playing their hardest should be happening in the middle of a season, because at the end of the day, the most important thing to these players is not about winning this tournament, it's about winning the Stanley Cup. And if you're taking anything away from yourself and what you could do on the ice for your team to win that cup, a lot of players aren't going to want to do it. Now, I think this is a good gateway to the reintroduction of the players back into the Olympics, which is a thing that was decided on fairly recently. But I think for a lot of players, it's not really an issue to like, oh, it's whatever, I could just try to my hand in the Olympics. But look at players like Sidney Crosby, look at players like Brad Marchand, Drew Doughty. These are guys that are in their mid to late 30s that this is probably the last time they'll ever play for their country again. So while I think that that's a good thing that you could showcase your players, I also feel like at the same time you're setting it up for a young hot shot. Let's just say Cale Makar gets injured and that he's done for the year. That fucks this Colorado Avalanche. That fucks the Avs. Like,
well, that's a good reminder too. Like these games, when you're playing for the pride of your nation, you're not going out there taking weak ass hits. You know what I mean?
The All-Star game.
You're putting your body on the line. Yeah, the All-Star game, people don't give a fuck about. They're out there for like a total of 30 minutes? They play 2 15-minute quarters or like halves, I guess.
Yeah, these guys are going to be putting it on the line to play their best. And while that's what I expect of pro athletes, and for all of these players in this list, I mean, these are all players we've talked about once or twice at least. Like, we know these guys, they're gritty, they're hard, they're hungry. But I also think at the same time, the breath of fresh air that the All-Star game weekend brings is, A, you don't have to fucking be there if you're not, like, selected, or you're not doing part of the skills comp. And B, those games are very relaxed. So you're able to compete in a special event that you're not expected to play at 150%. So I think that's a perfect storm. But I've mentioned before the World Baseball Classic and how that all goes down. It's a big baseball tournament that happens for all of these countries involved, but it happens before spring training. So when if a player gets hurt, and we saw that with Jose Altuve a couple years ago, who got hurt and missed like the first quarter of the season, you're only missing the beginning of the year if your injury's like not that bad, or you're not going to be missing much, or have it after the season's over. Have it like right after the playoffs. So you give the players this little bit of time. They're all still in good condition because they've all just played a full year, and then let them have an off season. But I don't think this tournament needs to happen in the middle of the year.
I think the other thing too, Chris, there could be let it be like sort of a consolation prize for the people who don't make the fucking playoffs.
That could be
your team doesn't make the playoffs. Okay, now we're gonna arrange a tournament with and we do it, maybe Four Nations style, where the losing 16 teams say, okay, well, I got a couple of Swedes I can send your way, and I got a couple of Canadians, like, you know what I mean? But have it be that instead. If you want there to still be something that is Four Nations, either do it at the start or the end, this middle of the the year shit can't continue. Not when you're putting the pride of your country on the line.
Correct.
It will be interesting to see how they do this next year, and if they continue it, what they change.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
So it'll be a
let
cool
us-
thing to talk about, you know?
Oh, big time. We want to hear your guys' comments. We want to hear your thoughts on this. Make sure you're hitting us up in the comments below or on social media. Make sure you're joining our Discord server. Engage with us. This is a really big topic, and we talk about wanting to hear from the fans. And this is, I think, the biggest thing that the fans aren't, or are they? Everyone is kind of talking about this. So, definitely let us know what your thoughts are. Switching gears to some naughty boys, some hurt boys. Danger, you want to take that
There
away?
aren't any naughty boys this week.
What?
At least as of time of recording.
You know what?
Which is
That's because they wanted to save space for our bad girls.
Right?
For the bad girls
Yeah,
club.
we did get some
They
bad
said,
girls this
"Nah,
week.
ladies
They're
go first this
sharing.
week."
Yeah.
We love
Um,
sharing. Sharing is caring.
Yeah.
Sharing is caring. But we do have some hurt boys. So, starting with Anaheim, we have Ratko Gudis out with an illness listed as day-to-day. Nobody new for Boston. For Buffalo, we have Beck Mallenstein with a back injury listed as day-to-day. Jordan Greenway, undisclosed on IR, expected now to be out until at least February 22nd, I think is an update. From last week. Calgary, we have Joel Hanley, personal, listed as day-to-day. Kevin Ball, upper body on IR, expected to be out until at least February 23rd. For Carolina, we have Tyson Jost. Update on him, lower body injury on IR, expected to be out until at least February 22nd. And William Carrier, lower body, expected to be out until at least March 25th now. For Chicago, we have Jason Dickinson with an ankle injury, expected to be out until at least March 3rd. And we talked about Lewis's concussion last week. So that's the only new one for Chicago. For Colorado, we have Scott Wedgwood, upper body, listed as day-to-day. Josh Manson. Wonder if he's related to Charlie. Or Charles, I should say. Lower body listed as day-to-day. We're not going to start that rumor. That'd be too mean. Nobody else new for Colorado. For Columbus, update on Igor Chenikov. Yeah, sure. That's whatever. Back injury on IR, expected to be out until at least March 9th. We have Dante Fabrio, concussion, listed as day-to-day. Sean Monahan with a wrist injury on IR, expected to be out until at least March 15th. And that's it for there. For Dallas, we have Ilya Labushkin.
Great name.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Undisclosed, listed as day-to-day. And that's the only new one for Dallas. Nobody new for Detroit. Nobody new for Edmonton.
Wow.
For
they're saying
Florida,
healthy.
we have Mackie
Samuskevich.
Samuskevich. Yeah.
There
Upper
you go.
body listed as day-to-day. My brain just had to work it out, all those letters. There's a lot
Also
of
a
damn
great
letters
name.
in that name. It is. For Los Angeles, name I'm sad to see on here, Darcy Kemper, former Wild player. Just out for personal reasons, listed as day-to-day. Mikey Anderson hurt his finger on IR, expected to be out until at least February 22nd. For Minnesota, Jacob Luco is back on the list. He spent the beginning of the season on the list. Lower body on IR, expected to be out until at least February 22nd. And then Kirill Kaprizov is still on here, but should be back beginning of next month. For Montreal, we have Caden Gooley with a quadricep, I'm assuming tear, expected to be out until at least March 1st. It's kind of a weird area to just put quadricep.
Well, he's out with a quadricep.
He's out with a quadricep,
He has
Yeah,
which
them.
is
that
a
We
group
assume.
of 4 muscles that you have 2 groups of because they're one in each leg. You know.
Yeah.
And then Emil Heinemann, upper body on IR, expected to be out until at least February 22nd. For Nashville, we have Zachary Leheroux.
Leroux. The H is silent.
All right. Well, I was close.
It's
upper
French.
body
You were
listed as
close.
day-to-day.
Google's fault.
We're just gonna go with Luke Evan Glenn
Evangelista.
But Luke is out with that lower body listed as day-to-day. Adam Willsby, upper body injury listed as day-to-day. Mark Yankowski, upper body on IR, expected to be out until at least February 22nd. For New Jersey, we have Jonas Siegenthaler, undisclosed, listed as day-to-day. Nico Hischier.
He's here.
Hischier.
Here.
Upper body
There's
on
it.
IR, expected to be out until at least February 22nd. That's how my brain has to like do those weird alliteration things to pretend like I'll remember it. For the New York Islanders, we have Matthew Barzal. He's out with a kneecap.
I
Another
can
weird one.
imagine.
Yikes.
On
Poor
IR,
Barzy.
expected to be out until at least March 20th. Scott Mayfield, lower body injury on AR, expected to be out until at least February 23rd. And that's the only other new one, but their team's still falling apart. For the Rangers, we have Igor Shishkirshkin.
We're getting there.
Listed as dated.
We're getting closer.
I still can't say his name. It's one of those where my tongue does not do all of that SHST KS.
Damn Europeans.
Igor.
That's-
Sure. Ottawa, 'cause I'm pretty sure that's how I've always pronounced his last name. And I've always known it's wrong, but it's the best I can do.
Hashtag
For
Vandermeer.
Ottawa, we have Shane Pinto, upper body, listed as day-to-day. Noah Gregor, lower body, on IR, expected to be out until at least February 22nd. Josh Norris, undisclosed, expected to be out until at least February 26th. Update on Nick Cousins with that knee injury, expected now to be out until at least April 1st. For Philadelphia, Owen Tippett, upper body injury, listed as day-to-day. Rasmus Ristolainen, damn it, Maul.
Close enough.
Got me tongue twisted in his name now. Upper body listed as day-to-day. Ryan Poling, upper body injury on IR, expected to be out until at least February 22nd. For Pittsburgh, we have Bokmanji?
Kanji and Mama.
Mama. Okay, yeah, that was a name I was not expecting, nor am I familiar with. Upper body injury listed as day-to-day. Brian Rust, lower body injury on IR, expected to be out until at least February 22nd. For San Jose, we have Alex Wenberg, upper body injury, listed as day-to-day. Nikolai Kovalenko, upper body on IR, expected to be out until at least February 23rd. That's the only other new one there. For Seattle, Brad Montour, upper body injury, listed as day-to-day. Riker Evans, upper body injury, listed as day-to-day. For St. Louis, we have Alexander Texier, illness, listed as day-to-day. Tyler Tucker. I love alliteration names.
Right.
My son's name starts with 3 M's, you know.
Mama.
But I love names like that. Upper body injury for Tyler Tucker, listed as day-to-day. For Tampa Bay, we have Jonas Johansson, lower body, listed as day-to-day. Nikita Kucherov, upper body injury, listed as day-to-day. For Toronto, Connor Timmins, upper body, listed as day-to-day. Connor Dewar, upper body, on IR, expected now to be out until at least February 22nd. For Utah, we have Connor Ingram, upper body, listed as day-to-day. And Robert Bortuzzo, update on his lower body injury on IR, expected now to be out until at least February 22nd. For Vancouver, we have Quinn Hughes out with an oblique injury.
Ooh.
I'm assuming maybe a strain, or I mean, it's hard to pull your obliques, but you could do it.
I think it's a strain, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but a sprain or a strain would make the most sense to me. Listed as day-to-day, and Thatcher Demko, undisclosed, listed as day-to-day. For Las Vegas, we have Victor Olofsson, upper body injury, listed as day-to-day. William Carlson, lower body injury on IR, expected to be out until at least February 24th. Tanner Pearson, undisclosed, on IR, expected to be out until at least February 22nd. Nobody knew for Washington, and nobody knew for Winnipeg, who are holding tight. So that is what we have for this week.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice
And
when the
hopefully there
it's
won't be
nice
too
when the
many new
league.
names.
Well, yeah, it's nice when the league doesn't just upload or update it all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah,
By
where
the
every
way,
player is an updated, where like, and then they say that, but not every, yeah.
But it's just like
that was dumb.
updated. There's no
Which-
actual change in date. It's just like, yeah, we checked. We
Yeah,
called
we're
them
just-
today, and they said the
Yeah.
same.
well, thank you for that.
That's all I've got there.
We appreciate
There's my
you as
spreadsheet.
always, and as always, hashtag Vananek.
Hashtag VTech Vananek.
Switching gears to our fantasy hockey. I don't have any updates for complete games because week 18 has extended from last week to this week, so it runs from February 3rd to the 23rd. I was going to say the 33rd, but that's not a real number.
Sure not.
What
Not
is that, like
months.
March 7th?
Yeah.
So the scores look as followed. Obviously, due to the Four Nations face-off, we're going to have some time off, but I believe there will be a few more games before the end of this current matchup week.
I hope so.
D is kind of getting slapped around right now. She is losing to Marcello 137 to 123. John is beating Drew 97 to 71. Wes is beating Dave 119 to 101. Maul, buddy.
Dude. My goalie, okay, lost me 6 points the other day. You know how pissed I was? I
Maul
almost
is
dropped
losing
his
to
ass
Matt.
right there.
Oh, yeah. Well, goalies, that's rough with goalies. Maul is losing to Matt 86 to 64, and I am losing to Danger 103 to 102.7.
Danger,
So-
please kick
Crazy.
his ass.
Well,
Yeah.
I think her hope now is that she has more players that play than I do once the league gets back. Because this is really close, and all it takes is like one assist from one player that plays randomly. So
Mhm.
I like the close battle. I honestly congratulated her on Sunday. I thought it was over, but we have this week 2 through week 19. So, or the week 18. So we will see if anyone else, if any movers or shakers happen. So
Or movers
I'm-
and shakers.
bit of both. I have a trivia question for you guys.
Sure.
I wasn't
Front row
prepared.
ready.
Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because it's coming for you. There you go. Hold on. 12-point harness. He's in a fucking race car.
Yeah, right?
There are several teams that have pretty big droughts for the Stanley Cup. Can you tell me what team has the longest active Stanley Cup drought in the NHL?
Toronto Maple Leafs.
Danger?
For it to be a drought, you have to have won one, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Toronto sounds good. Detroit sounds good. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know why Detroit. I think being one of the original teams, it comes to mind all the time.
It's been a while since Detroit has won a Stanley Cup. That is for sure.
My guess is the Canadians.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
But 2 of the 3 of
Winnipeg.
you were correct. It is, in fact, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Or, I'm sorry. You got to say it like
1967.
they say it. It's Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I was going to say, for bonus points, can you
So-
tell me?
Oh,
But it's 1967, so that
Christ.
would be 56 years since their last
Yeah.
Stanley Cup.
Jesus.
The
Okay,
second
yeah, that would have
closest...
beat out our non-winning of Stanley
The
Cup.
s- Well, so the second closest is the Philadelphia Flyers. It's been 48
Ooh.
years. And then the next closest is the Islanders. It's been 40 years. The Detroit Red
Wow.
Wings, it has been 16 years because they won in 2007. They won
Mhm.
the 07-08 season, then they lost the next year to the Penguins in the finals. But yeah, I mean, 16 years has been a long time. because the longest. You guys, I think, are you guys the longest? No, the Nashville Predators, San Jose Sharks. Of teams that have never won, that are active, the San Jose Sharks are the longest drought. They have never won a Stanley Cup, so it's been 32 seasons.
Well, and this season doesn't look good for him either.
No,
And
probably
the
not.
Caps just won theirs after 40 something seasons. So we were the longest, but then we broke that streak in 2018.
Yeah. And now it is
the Leafs are number 1 in choking and making it to the playoffs and then getting kicked out in the first round.
There is a video I have to send you, Maul.
Please do.
That's so... dude, it's just... It goes from the last time they won a Stanley Cup all the way until now. It's the funniest video I've ever seen. I laughed the whole time because it's just... If you guys aren't following Urinating Tree on YouTube... He's a big sports YouTuber. He's hilarious. Definitely check out his stuff. But Maul, I will send you that video because it's fucking hilarious. The irony of which, I didn't even make this connection until just now, but this links directly to this week's Obscure NHL Player of the Week. So, our player this week should be a player that all of us here at the Pucked Up Podcast are familiar with the name, but that is Ty Domi. Born in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, he was drafted 27th overall in the 1988 draft by the Toronto Maple Leafs. In his... I'll read that after. In 1,020 games, he had 104 goals, 141 assists, with 3,515 penalty minutes, most of which coming with what team?
I'm going to go and guess the Rangers.
No, he did play 3 years there.
Oh, okay. I was hopeful. They're pretty aggressive with their players, so.
Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's why I was looking at you. Oh, yeah, you couldn't tell I was looking at you.
Yeah, I was just there, Maul. I was
looking directly at Maul.
You should know who Ty Domi is.
I'm trying to pass the blame to someone else, damn it.
It is actually kind of cool that he played soccer and the Canadian football, which is American football with a couple extra rules. And the field's a little longer. He was scouted by the University of Michigan to play both sports while in high school. He played full season for Kosovo in the Canadian Soccer League, Canadian International Soccer League. I don't think that's a league that exists anymore. During the summer of '95, also appeared in 2 preseason exhibition games as a place kicker for the Toronto Argonauts of the CFL. His son, Max Domi, is a name you're probably going to hear. We will talk about. He currently plays for the Toronto Maple Leafs, which I think is actually really cool that he gets to play where his dad played the majority of his career. Retired in 2006 and has still just been the man. He also is the all-time NHL leader in fights with 333. So... Big shout out to Ty Domi. We love you, big guy. If I had to pick an enforcer that was my favorite, it's him and George Peros. But yeah, that is our player of the week. And that, I think, is where we are going to wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for being here. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Let you know anytime we upload anything new. If you're listening to us on Spotify, make sure you give us a rating, give us a review. We love hearing from you guys. If you're still listening, in the comments below, let us know who your favorite enforcer is, if your favorite team's franchise. That's a fun one. Also, none of you have guessed my favorite color, so keep fucking trying.
Keep going.
Make sure you are following us everywhere. All our links are in the description below. Anything else before we wrap this bad boy up?
Just stay healthy, y'all. 4 Nations, I guess, taking people out. Just stay off the ice.
Real quick, who's our picks for the Four Nations?
USA. USA.
Yeah, I think it's a very
Canada.
3-1 here. I think the
Yeah.
U.S. can do it. I wouldn't sleep on Sweden or Canada though. So,
Honestly, any of them, they are all.
yeah,
Canada.
you've got 4 of the top
that
teams.
got
There's a
put
reason
together,
that
so.
they're all listed because they're
Yeah.
the top 4 teams
Right.
in the world right now.
Right.
But as I
Right.
like to end every show, peace, love, puss suitor, and until we see you motherfuckers again in the face-off circle, have a good week.